Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that will change the way you move through relationships forever. The moment you stop chasing and start choosing yourself, everything shifts. You become the energy that people crave, not because you beg to be seen, but because you know you're the prize. This isn't about games, it's about power, emotional power. And when you own it, you don't chase anyone. They chase you. Stay with me. Because what you're about to hear will rewrite the rules completely. Confidence is one of the most magnetic forces a person can possess. It's not loud or boastful, it's the quiet understanding of one's own worth. That kind of inner security can't be faked, and it can't be borrowed. It has to be cultivated. It shows up in how someone carries themselves, how they speak, how they take up space without apology. When you're confident, you don't beg for attention because you already know you're valuable. That knowledge shifts the way people respond to you. When you're rooted in your own sense of self, people feel it. It makes them curious, even captivated, by the question of what makes you so certain. You stop seeking validation and start inviting connection, which is far more powerful. Confidence is not the absence of insecurity, it's the refusal to let insecurity lead. There's a fine line between desire and neediness, and the difference comes down to emotional independence. When someone is emotionally grounded, they can enjoy a connection without clinging to it. They don't attach their self-worth to another person's reaction. That freedom makes everything feel lighter, more enjoyable, more real. It allows space for attraction to grow naturally without pressure. That space, that lack of urgency, creates a feeling of ease that draws others closer. People can feel when someone is holding too tightly. It makes them pull away. But when someone stands on their own emotionally, they become like gravity. They don't chase, yet everything seems to orbit around them. This emotional independence isn't cold or distant. It's a calm center that says, I'm already enough. Confidence speaks in subtle ways through boundaries, choices, and silence. It's in how one doesn't rush to fill every awkward pause, how they're willing to walk away when something doesn't feel right. It's not about playing games, it's about refusing to betray yourself to be liked. When someone knows their value, they don't over-explain their needs or overcompensate with effort. They allow others to step forward and match energy, not because they're testing them, but because they respect themselves. This energy tells the world, I don't chase, I attract. It's not arrogance and it's not aloofness, it's rootedness. The kind that doesn't panic when someone pulls away or stays silent when something feels off. Boundaries become effortless because they come from clarity, not fear. Confidence also looks like emotional generosity without attachment to outcome. You give your time, your kindness, your presence freely but not cheaply. You know your energy is a gift, so you're selective about where it goes. That selectivity isn't about judgment, it's about discernment. You stop trying to win people over and start asking, does this situation deserve me? That's not selfishness, it's self-awareness. When you're confident, you're more focused on whether something aligns with your life rather than whether you can get someone to choose you. The shift in focus from will I be enough to is this right for me changes everything. It brings peace, it brings power, it allows relationships to unfold with mutual respect instead of emotional strain. You also begin to show up differently in conversations. You listen with curiosity, but not with the fear of losing approval. You speak honestly because you're not afraid of being too much or not enough. You're not editing yourself to fit in. You're allowing your truth to be seen. This version of confidence is soft but unshakable. It's found in quiet moments, in how you don't react impulsively when triggered or how you respond to silence with peace instead of panic. You stop over-apologizing. You stop explaining your boundaries like they're offenses. Instead, you own your space in the world as if it's the most natural thing. And it is. When someone is anchored in this way, people feel safe around them, not because they're perfect, but because they're consistent. Their energy doesn't spike with fear or drop with need. There's a sense of emotional stability that people instinctively trust, and when trust is present, connection deepens. You no longer perform for affection, you simply exist as you are and let the right people find you. That's not passivity, it's confidence in the power of authenticity. You don't need to embellish your life or your story to be interesting. You realize that being grounded in truth is more magnetic than any curated image could ever be. That truth gives you freedom to express, to feel, to walk away if needed. When you're confident, you trust that what's meant for you won't need to be forced. You trust yourself to handle disappointment without falling apart. And that trust shows. It builds quiet, lasting impact, the kind that leaves people wondering long after you've walked away. Confidence is also contagious. When you show up with self-respect, others are encouraged to meet you at that level. It raises the standard, not through pressure, but through example. You stop tolerating breadcrumbs because you know how to bake the whole loaf for yourself. You stop waiting for someone to save you or complete you because you're already whole. That wholeness changes the energy of every interaction. You no longer need reassurance to feel worthy, you simply are. That certainty doesn't make you untouchable. It makes you emotion, ally available without losing yourself. People feel the difference even if they can't name it. They lean in because they sense something rare, someone who's not looking to be chosen, but who chooses herself every day. This internal shift allows you to be generous without sacrificing your peace. You can love without losing yourself. You can be vulnerable without feeling exposed, because you're not giving from emptiness, you're sharing from overflow. You don't need someone to complete you. You want someone who complements your already full life. That distinction is everything. It changes how you engage, how you listen, how you respond. You stop reacting out of fear and start responding with intention. You're not trying to control the outcome, you're staying aligned with your truth no matter what the outcome is. And ironically, that detachment from outcome makes you more compelling, because confidence rooted in self-worth is irresistible. In the end, confidence is the quietest, most powerful form of influence. It doesn't need to shout to be heard. It simply exists, unbothered by noise, untouched by insecurity. It's the invisible current under the surface that moves everything around it. When you cultivate this within yourself, you stop waiting for validation and start living from value. You stop bending to fit into boxes and start becoming someone who can't be boxed in. That transformation is not about changing who you are. It's about returning to who you were before the world told you otherwise. And in doing so, you attract what's meant for you, not because you chase it, but because you've become someone it naturally flows toward. Attraction has a rhythm, and when you understand it, everything begins to shift. Most people rush the process, trying to force a connection to solidify too quickly. They pour too much in too soon, often driven by the fear of being forgotten or replaced. But love, attention, and connection don't flourish in pressure, they flourish in space. When you allow moments of distance, you give someone the opportunity to miss your presence. That contrast, the moments of closeness and the gentle pauses, create depth and intrigue. It's not about withdrawing as a game, but allowing space for reflection. If you're always available, always initiating, always giving, there's no room for the other person to step forward. That absence of space leaves nothing for desire to stretch into, and desire needs room to breathe. You forget to notice whether the energy is being returned. Pausing allows you to watch, to see how someone shows up without prompting, to notice whether they fill the space or leave it empty. That's not manipulation, it's clarity. And clarity is a form of love. Love for yourself and love for truth. Letting go of the need to manage every step of the connection is liberating. You stop obsessing over what to say, how to say it, when to follow up. You surrender to flow. That surrender doesn't mean apathy, it means trust. Trust in the energy you've already given. Trust that if something is meant, it won't require constant chasing. When you give someone the opportunity to come toward you, you give them a role in the relationship. You shift from performer to partner. That shift changes everything. It moves you out of anxiety and into alignment. Because when you're not busy chasing, you're free to observe, and that observation is what allows love to take root in truth. When you hold back from over-engaging, it's not withholding, it's allowing the dynamic to find its balance, allowing the connection to grow at a natural pace. Rushing anything ruins it. Just like a flower can't be forced open without breaking, relationships can't be forced without damaging trust. When someone comes to you willingly, the bond is stronger. It's based on real choice, not obligation. And that kind of connection lasts. You want someone to show up, not because they feel they have to, but because they truly want to. That want only surfaces in silence, only when there's space for desire to be felt. There's also an element of self-honor in stepping back. You're declaring that your energy is sacred, that your time is not up for negotiation. You're showing that you're not afraid to be missed. That confidence radiates. It tells the world, I know what I offer, and I'm not afraid to let you feel the contrast of my absence. That message doesn't need to be spoken. It's felt, and it has impact, because so many people are used to others overproving their value, trying to earn attention with overexposure. But when someone simply exists fully and quietly in their own life while still being open to connection, they become unforgettable. This isn't about disappearing or punishing or withdrawing affection. It's about allowing natural consequences. If someone doesn't step forward when given the chance, that says everything. And that clarity is a gift. You're not controlling the outcome, you're observing the truth of it. In doing so, you free yourself from emotional labor that was never yours to carry. You stop chasing what's not reaching back. You stop investing in what's not being returned. And in that stillness, you make space for something real, something mutual, something earned. Not because you demanded it, but because you created the space for it to emerge. Becoming the prize means stepping fully into the truth that you are already whole. It's a mindset, not a performance. You're not trying to be chosen, you're choosing yourself again and again with how you treat yourself and what you allow into your world. The prize doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't plead. It doesn't lower itself to be seen. It simply is. Its value is not up for debate or negotiation. When you truly believe in your worth, you stop trying to convince anyone else of it. You know that the right people will recognize it. And if they don't, that's not your loss. That's the cost of their misjudgment, not a reflection of your value. Living as the prize doesn't mean you look down on others. It means you honor yourself deeply. You move with clarity, with grace, and with unapologetic standards. You know what you bring to the table, so you don't entertain situations that feel like begging for crumbs. You not waiting for validation to feel good about yourself. You create that feeling internally. When something doesn't align, you don't panic, you pivot. That self-trust becomes the anchor for how you navigate every connection. You're not impressed by inconsistency or persuaded by potential. You only have time for what is clear, consistent, and intentional. That kind of energy doesn't have to shout to be respected. It's felt in how you carry yourself, even in silence. Being the prize also means becoming emotionally self-sufficient. You're not outsourcing your happiness to another person's approval. You find joy in your own rhythm, your own rituals, your own life. You cultivate peace that doesn't collapse when someone pulls away. That doesn't mean you're closed off. It means you're complete. It's a different kind of power, the kind that whispers instead of screams. You're not trying to earn attention. You're simply living a life so rich and fulfilled that attention naturally gravitates toward you. You are the experience, not the escape. You don't bend to fit into someone else's life. You invite them to meet you where you are. When you hold this kind of self-worth, your standards sharpen, not because you're hard to please, but because you've stopped entertaining things that disturb your peace. You're not auditioning for love. You're observing whether someone is aligned with your values, your energy, your pace. You're not interested in potential wrapped in inconsistency. You're looking for evidence, not promises. Your time becomes sacred, and your presence becomes a privilege. You no longer chase understanding from people who refuse to give it. You simply remove yourself with grace, not out of bitterness, but because you've learned to choose yourself even when it's hard. That quiet strength rewrites every pattern you used to follow. There's a different kind of magic that happens when you stop seeking and start becoming. You realize that the most attractive thing you can offer is not beauty, charm, or perfection. It's peace. Peace in how you live, how you speak, how you handle discomfort. That kind of presence is rare, and it changes the way people experience you. They feel safe in your calm. They respect your boundaries because they sense you actually live by them. You stop feeling the need to overgive to be liked. Instead, you give because it feels aligned, and you stop when it doesn't. You protect your energy like it's gold because it is. Part of being the prize is knowing when to walk away, not with drama, not with noise, but with certainty. You don't cling to what confuses you. You don't romanticize mixed signals. You pay attention to actions, not words. And when those actions don't meet your standard, you step back, not because you're punishing anyone, but because you're no longer willing to betray yourself to be chosen. That's a line you just don't cross anymore. You've worked too hard to build yourself up. You've healed too much to let your worth hang in someone else's hands. The prize doesn't wait to be chosen. It moves forward, trusting that what's meant will follow. You also begin to notice the difference between attention and intention. Just because someone notices you doesn't mean they're worthy of you. Just because they admire you doesn't mean they'll show up for you. You're not flattered by minimal effort. You're inspired by consistency. That maturity shifts your entire world. You no longer chase feelings, you seek alignment. You don't get lost in chemistry, you look for character. Your standards rise not because you're difficult, but because you've become deeply aware of your value. You're not for everyone, and that no longer scares you. It grounds you. Living as the prize changes how you respond to tests. You don't get rattled when someone pulls back or behaves unpredictably. You stay grounded. You don't need to prove yourself through reaction. You let people reveal who they are while you quietly decide if it aligns with who you are. That stillness, that self-control, it's not detachment, it's discipline. You know that what doesn't meet your standard will fall away, and that doesn't destabilize you. You've learned how to soothe yourself, how to hold your own hand. You don't need constant reassurance to feel secure. You've created that security within. That kind of self-possession is magnetic. The more you embody this mindset, the more you realize how peaceful it feels to stop performing. You're no longer trying to fit someone else's idea of who you should be. You're fully yourself without apology. You take up space. You say no without guilt. You express your needs without shame. And in doing so, you filter out the people who can't meet you where you are. That's not rejection, it's refinement. You're not losing anyone, you're making room. Room for the real ones. The ones who don't need convincing, the ones who don't make you question yourself, because the prize doesn't chase validation, it attracts recognition. Eventually, this becomes your new baseline. You no longer feel triggered by distance, silence, or disinterest. You don't internalize someone's inability to choose you. You recognize that who you are is not defined by who chooses to stay. Your power lies in what you choose to allow, what you choose to accept, and what you walk away from with dignity. You've become your own anchor, your own source, and in that space you create relationships from overflow, not from emptiness. You're no longer looking to be completed. You're just living fully and allowing others to meet you in that fullness. That's what it truly means to be the prize